just came home from the gym about 45 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so just trying to get set up, and then Noah's in here putting the weights together and trying to lift weights.
Hi, bud.
He said hello.
Hello.
Oh wow! So you just come home from work?
Yeah, about let's see here. It's 5 o'clock now. About an hour ago. So I get off about 3 to 3:45, pretty much. If I want to stay late, I can.
Oh.
So I normally stay like 15 minutes. I get there 15 minutes late, and I stay 15 minutes later at the end of the day. And then normally get there 10 to 15 minutes early. So I get a little bit of overtime every day for the end of the week. So every paycheck I have a couple hours of overtime on it, which is nice. It definitely helps out a lot.
I know. So they're really cool with as much overtime as you need or if you want, or
when we're busy, they're fine with it. When we're not busy. So right now, we make race car parts. So right now we're in between race seasons. So we just finished up our race season. So we have, I think, a couple of weeks, and then we start up go-kart race season.
wow.
So yeah, so I didn't even know that was like a thing. And then the guys were like, yeah, go-kart season will be starting soon. And I'm like, go-kart season? What do you mean? And they're like, yeah, they race go-karts up in Monroe, like where they do like the bull riding and the horse riding. In like the rodeo area, they have dirt in there, so they make a dirt track for go-karts. And so I'm like, well, I know what I'm doing a couple of times this winter. I want to go see some go-kart racing. So I'm sure once it picks back up, they'll be like, yeah, you can have as much. Like, I think at first, when I first started there, I was averaging like 6 to 8 hours every paycheck.
Oh.
And they were totally fine with it. We've got guys that'll rack in more than that every week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're fine with it. If you're making production, they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. If you're working, why not?
Yeah. So it's kind of nice. It's definitely a more relaxed environment for me versus the last shop I was at, where it was just stress city all the time. We were always behind schedule. Here I'm learning way more than I thought I would ever learn in a machine shop. And yeah, it's been a complete 180 for me. And yeah, it's been really nice working in a really good environment. Have a couple of good, solid Christian guys that work there, which is cool because we actually have discussions pertaining to God. I have one guy, we actually have conversations about religion, not Christianity, because he is not a Christian.
Oh, I see.
And him and we have some of the most amazing conversations. We had one a couple of weeks ago. We were working right next to each other, and we were just chit-chatting back and forth. Super, super smart guy. He knows the Bible inside and out, and it's amazing to listen to him pull out scripture, because he was a Christian and then kind of backed away from Christianity. But I mean, he knows the Bible inside and out, and it's cool to listen to him talk and like listen to his thoughts and stuff like that. And you wouldn't expect it. And it's just really cool because him and I, we love having conversations with each other, because he knows that I'm not going to judge him and he's not going to judge me. Like, we just have this mutual understanding that like we like each other as a person.
Right.
And if that's ultimately what it comes down to, like, we're fine with that. And it's really cool to have just these really in-depth conversations about Jesus and about the Bible and stuff with him, knowing that he's not a believer.
Did
And so
he
it's really cool.
did he ever share with you why he decided to step away?
He did, and he said that he was, I can't remember his like exact wording, but he basically had somebody say something to him, and then he went in depth research and couldn't really determine if what we know as Jesus and our religion as Christians, he couldn't really come down to a like determination that it was actually 100% real, and he started doubting, and that's when he stepped away. And yeah, and it's real, like I said, it's really cool to listen to him talk. And he's a genuine person.
Mm-hmm.
He's a nice, super nice guy. And yeah, he's I love talking to him when we're at work. So, and then the other guy, you actually know, well, you don't know, but
Well,
he's in the group now,
he's in the group.
Austin.
Right.
Yeah, him and we actually I took him home one day to meet his wife, and we just started talking about God. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, like one of the books that actually really got me into believing in God and into becoming a Christian was the book Mere Christianity.
Mere Christianity. Okay.
Yep. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, that's super funny. And he's like, why? I was like, look at the book that's sitting right down on my center console right there. And he leaned forward and moved like one thing, and I have that book in my truck
Oh, by
all the
C.S.
time.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just pulled
Yep.
it up here.
Oh, dude, phenomenal book. But yeah, so I had it sitting in my truck because it's always in there. I always, if I'm like out somewhere or I'm on a ferry boat or I just have a little bit of downtime where it's just me, I grab that book and I open it and I just read in that book. It's just like reading in the Bible for me. Like I find something in that book
Mm-hmm.
that I missed the last time I read it.
So he does this book reference scripture all the time?
Sometimes yes.
Oh, okay.
And so, well, I would say more yes than no.
Or
And he like saw the book and he was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Oh man, that's so crazy." And I'm like, "No, that's God, dude. Like God wanted us to meet, and that's God. We just talked about this book. That's God's work." And he's like, "Yeah, you're totally right." And him and we were texting yesterday, off and on while I was at work. He was homesick, and it was his last text message that he sent me that I was just instantly like, dude, I'm inviting you to the group. I'm going to let the guys know that I'm introducing you. I'm not even going to ask. I'm just bringing you into this group because you need this group and our group needs you. Kind of a mutual, we need each other. And he was super excited about it and stuff. So it was really cool.
Oh yeah, no, I mean when you brought in, I saw the message. For some reason, I thought it said Adrian, but then I looked closely, and then you explained who it was, and then I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, I honestly believe that it's great to expand,
Yeah.
and then also I think it's really healthy to hear other people's their background and other perspectives on situation, because it's good to. I mean, not everyone's going to agree with the same theology.
Yeah.
or the same teachings. I mean, we take the Bible but I mean, as long as we come together at the end of the day, that we give our life to Christ. We try to walk in the faith and try to walk that narrow road, and then sharing the gospel and then helping each other grow and build that relationship accurately and scripturally. So
yes, definitely.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, and I definitely want to be able to talk to him a little bit more. It's a shame though that we with the first group that we started that a lot of people just disappeared.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling the same thing, and I it got to a point where like we just weren't having conversations. I felt like you and we were conversing like all the time back and forth, and everybody else in the group just kind of like faded away and wasn't really like talking.
Right.
Um, Adrian, my son, I mean, he was in the group, he was following along with us, but he wasn't having those conversations with us.
Right.
Just because
It seemed like his
he
focus
wasn't.
was somewhere else. I mean, not saying that was a bad thing, but like
Yeah.
he graduated, starting school, just starting his life, and
Yep, and that's kind of what I put it to, was like he was just in this area of like he wanted to have those conversations. He wanted to be part of the group, but he just didn't have time to respond. And now with him going to college out in Kansas at St. Mary's, like he
Kansas.
is yeah, he is he is enthralled in, like, I mean, he had his first gosh, just probably like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer than that, experienced his first uh service, like his chapel service, or not
Right.
chapel, oh, what's it called, mass. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Experienced his first mass because it's a Catholic school. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, you probably felt like you did like a workout, didn't you? He's like, man, he's like, it was up, kneel, sit, kneel, sit, kneel. He's like, I did not stop moving the whole time. And I'm like, yep. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, it's a little different than when you would come with me to church. And he's like, yeah, it's definitely different. And I was like, but it's not bad. And he's like, no, no. He's like, it's just different. So, which is which is good for him. And I think that's why he's starting to kind of talk in the group a little bit. He introduced himself and where he was going to school and stuff, which was super cool. So,
And just to kind of touch on that, like I'm not against Catholicism or anything like that at all, but
yeah,
it's there's a lot of things I disagree with uh, the Catholic teachings, meaning which I'm sure Adrian's probably. I mean, he's still growing, and I'm sure he'll notice, but I'm not sure if the college does this, but I'll say with some of my friends that are Catholic, I remember going to their home and then they were sitting there kneeling in front of the statue of Mary, and I'm always asking, I'm like, why are you guys kneeling in front of Mary? And they're like, oh, we're saying prayers, and then she's going to pass the prayers on to Jesus, and then Jesus is going to pass it on. And I was like, that's interesting. And this is when I was much younger and I didn't quite know as much, but to
yeah,
me, it was kind of like a red flag. But
yeah,
I couldn't explain why it was a red flag for me until I've matured more. And then I've told my friends, I said, Mary's a wonderful woman. She's a wonderful woman.
yeah,
Jesus, earthly mom, everything. But we don't necessarily pray to Mary.
yeah,
Jesus clearly said, you know, no one can come to the Father except through me.
yeah,
So I just I get the intention. I understand we're lifting Mary up because she's great, but she's not divine.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And my friend's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't understand, but I said, I mean, you guys do accept. I mean, you do understand that the God, Jesus is the Son of God, and then Jesus is God. And I was like, just a little bit of error, but again, who are we to say that we know everything? So I'm
yeah,
only going off of biblical teaching, but it is not like it's a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, you're praying to Mary, now you're going to hell. No.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But, yeah, so it's just a little thing, little details that I think that in the Catholicism kind of makes a little mistakes because it's a quite with Christianity and being a follower of Christ, and then you have Catholicism, seems quite legalistic sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't work your way into heaven.
Yeah.
So, you just, I mean, but yeah. Anyways, but that's just my thoughts on it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
Adrian will go through his time, and he'll be like, he'll recognize some things. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. But to continue with this, I actually did have a bit of questions since we are trying to start this up. And to be quite
Perfect.
honest, the podcast is considered G.F.E, so God, Family, Everything Else podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
I do the audio portions. Then I'm trying to get a little bit more consistent on it. Then I'm trying to do more video as well. And then at the same time, for my church, I have what is that called? I do 1 minute, trying to do 1 minute videos, maybe about 1 minute and 30-second videos where it's words from the Bible that I do for the church, because the children don't speak English.
Okay.
So I do it that way, and like we'll just say for instance, the new word today is backslide, and I'll explain backslide, very short, simple, entertaining, and then the video's over. So
Okay.
I've been doing that for a little over a year now. It's
Okay.
been quite consistent for a little bit, then taking a break, and then consistent taking a break. I actually recently prayed about it because I want to be more consistent, and I think the reason why I stepped away at times is because I didn't want to just feel like, okay, this is a job and I just have
Yeah.
to put a video up. Like I want to do it to really help the children, and then also
Yeah.
understand the Bible, and then also help me grow as well, instead of just like all right, this video is done, next. No.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Okay, I checked that one off. Okay, let's go to the next one tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever I'm either listening to a sermon or reading the Bible, and if something comes up that sticks out to me, then I'm like, you know what, let's share that word. So
Yeah.
but no, go ahead and start with you said you're pretty much an open book, and just so
Yep.
people can kind of get to know you, whoever's watching, sorry, this is a little late introduction, but this is my brother in Christ, Russell. uh, and
Hi, everybody.
we've been friends and pretty much family for a number of years now, and
Yeah.
he is also the owner of Gnome Tree Distillery. So
Yep.
he's been working on that for a few years, and recently been getting the word out more with his sweatshirts and t-shirts and everything. So uh, do you have a like a website or something?
So we have Instagram,
Okay.
which it's just Gnome Tree Distillery, and in between, so it's Gnome and then underscore tree underscore distillery, and then Facebook is just Gnome Tree Distillery.
Awesome.
And they're both up there. I'm active on both of those accounts, posting pictures of people with the hoodies, with t-shirts. We actually I just ordered, well, about a month ago, I ordered ball caps. So we have
Nice.
baseball
Nice.
hats now that have Gnome Tree Distillery on them. They look really, really cool. And yeah, this is something that I see growing to. It's really funny. A lot of people ask me like, well, how do you feel about owning a distillery? And I think we've actually discussed this before, that owning a distillery but being a Christian, and ultimately, like, it comes down to like everything I'm doing, I'm giving to God. The distillery, when he blesses me with that opening and it becomes as successful as everyone has already projected and how much I've already seen, it's all going back to God. Like, the distillery was originally a hobby for me. Then I realized that I couldn't drink how much I was making, because that would have been a really, really big problem.
Yeah.
So I wanted to run and make product more than I wanted to drink. And even now, like, I don't drink very often. I have a passion for that. And intertwining with that, God has put some other things on my heart for when the distillery opens. Then I can shift focus and focus on something else that's really going to glorify God. And I had talked about it in the podcast with Eddie. So the other thing that God has put on my heart is a thing called Gnome Tree Outreach. And it's something I focus on Gnome Tree as much as I can, the distillery, but every time I think about it, I keep coming back to Gnome Tree Outreach because it's such a new thing that I'm like, okay, I want to get this kind of a ballpark idea of what this is going to be. And it's really going to be outreaching to the communities, getting to know the people in the community and what they need or what they'd like to do, and drawing people in through the love of God. Showing love to people, having a past addiction problem for me is going out to the communities where you see all those people on the side of the road, Highway 99 and 128th right here in Linwood or in Everett is a big one. You see them, I see them almost every day I come home. If I come home that way, they're out there all the time. And it's like, there's part of me that just wants to stop and talk to these people and see if there's something I can do besides praying for them to help them. Which is crazy because, like, I always remember, like, as a kid living here in Linwood, we'd go down and see my dad in Seattle when he worked down there. And I remember, like, we would drive by, like, all the homeless people back then, and I would see them and go, I want to feed them one day. And I never really, like, I never went forth with that. I never went forward with like helping and feeding the homeless or anything like that. I did help when I was in the youth group. I helped at a homeless shelter once because it was like something we did in the youth group. But I never went back and followed through. But I remember, like, as a kid always saying, like, I want to feed the homeless people. And my heart is Gnome Tree Distillery, but once the distillery is up and running, I'm going to have such a huge success from that, from God blessing me with this talent and this drive of doing this distillery, to where now I can unfold that blessing into outreach and help people that are in the community that are struggling. So I actually designed a business logo and everything for it. And it's Gnome Tree Outreach, and I can't remember like the tagline, but it's basically glorifying God in the tagline, like a safe, I think it was like a safe place. No, it wasn't that. It was something along the lines of like, God provided this, so we're providing it to you.
Right.
So yeah, so that's going to be the next big thing after the distillery's up and running and it takes off and gets that good foundation in it, because everything comes back to a solid foundation. I mean, it's like in the Bible how the guy built the house on the sand and the guy that built the house on the rocks. The foundation on the sand wasn't as good as the foundation on the rocks. Just like in our lives, if our heart is a foundation of sin, we're not going to have a good, strong communication and life with God. Whereas if we're giving everything to God and have that solid foundation with Him, our lives are going to be a lot better. And I'm basing that with my two visions of two different companies. Of once this one has that solid foundation, I can now take that foundation and spread it out farther and put it into this other company and have that foundation start to build and get rock solid.
Right. Oh, no idea. No idea about you.
Yep. Yeah.
But,
not too many people knew about this. So,
I think,
but yeah, I'll have to send you the business logo because it's pretty cool. I really liked how I designed the logo and stuff.
I think that's a good thing that you kept that to yourself, because sometimes I used to have a tendency of doing, like, I get so excited of an idea and then I share it, and then I fall flat on my face because nothing came of it.
Yeah.
And then then people are like, hey Kevin, what about this, what about that? And I'm like,
It's
yeah,
like, yeah, got it.
yep.
Yeah. So it's been something, it's been the outreach has been, oh my gosh. I want to say God probably put this on my heart probably 5 or 6 months ago. And it's just something that I just keep coming back to in prayer with
mhm.
him, and talking it over. And then was really just kind of like, almost kind of like God just reached back and just kind of smacked me upside the head and said, hey, dummy, like, look, like I'm giving you something else, another option here. And that's when I sat down and I was like, all right, God, like, we're gonna do this. Like, we're gonna stick with the gnome theme, um, and go from there. So
Well,
yeah, it's gonna be a blessing, and it's gonna be huge, and I love it.
that's actually really great, because I mean, like you said, you're going to do the outreach, pretty much go out into the world or your community.
Yeah.
Because it actually reminds me of a situation when we were going to church in Linwood at our current church, which is different now how they're doing things. But at that time, we used to have what they called it's called Matsuri. It's like a festival in
Okay.
Japan, and we'd have that out in the open grass area, and they'd set it up where it looks like a fun festival. And then the pastor was saying, like, yeah, this is a good opportunity for people to see what Christians are like, and not pass judgment and stuff. And so at that time I was like, yeah, that's great. But then we would people would come and be successful, but then I would also think, I'm like, the Bible doesn't say for us to stay stationary and then expect people to come to us.
Yep.
It tells us to go out into the world and preach the gospel. Go out into our world. I mean, whatever our world is, and my world, I feel like, is like a fitness world,
Yeah.
or trying to expand. But I definitely try to stay in my lane. But go out into the world and preach it in any way that I know how or can.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing, I think, is great, because how else are people supposed to know who the one true God is if you just
Mhm.
decide and then sit there and say, man, I'm not sharing with as many people as I would want. Like, well, are you going out?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, am I supposed to? So
Yeah. Oh, I'm supposed to travel and go and spread the news. Wait a minute here. Uh-oh.
you're
No, I'm
telling
doing this
me
wrong.
I have to go to uncomfortable places to share the truth?
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. So
Okay.
pastor made some good sense about, like, this is like, if you're walking by a building and you see it's on fire and you have all the equipment to to get the fire out, are you going to just be like, oh wow, fire, all right, see you later? Or are you going to use that equipment that you have to help put out that fire?
Uh, that would be horrible.
Yeah, like, I could just imagine on the roof, like, there's a guy with a water hose, he can set the
Yeah.
fire out.
He's
Like,
gonna
hey.
save us. Wait, where is he going?
Yeah, you're like,
That'd be
hey,
horrible.
I'll let someone know that you need
Yeah,
help.
I'm gonna go find a payphone.
Yeah, I need this water for me. So,
And for people that have no idea what a payphone is, we used to have these cool things where the phone was attached to a building and you would put like a quarter in it and maybe a dime. I know at one point they were like 50 cents. And then you would pay like call somebody. And yes, we actually knew phone numbers of everybody we wanted to talk to.
yep.
And then you would be like, "Hey dude, like, yeah, I'm down here. Yeah, come hang out." Okay, bye. Click. And you would hang up and then hope you didn't talk long enough and see if you could jiggle it to get your money back.
Yep.
So those are payphones, everybody.
Man, back in those days.
Right?
Wow. Sorry, but this I don't mean to I would love for our meeting to be so much longer, but I only have 10 more minutes.
No
Uh
worries.
but just to kind of touch a little bit for people to know who you are a little bit more, what can you say that people misunderstand about you?
Oh. Um, misunderstand about me? Wow, that's a really good question. I've never really thought about that because honestly, oh man, I hope this doesn't make me sound arrogant because I'm totally not.
Oh, I know you.
I don't really care what people think. I used to all the time. Like that was like I have to be a people pleaser. But now I'm so focused about God and what he wants me to do and really just kind of focusing on like my heart and stuff like that if people I guess if people misinterpret something that I say or think something about me that they'll get the chance like take the time to get to know me as a person because I am like an extremely genuine person. I'm willing to go above and beyond to make somebody happy and do things that most people wouldn't do.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, and you really can.
Yes, I can.
I'm like, yeah, actually you can. Like that's just me. Like, so yeah, I hope people would take the chance to get to know me. Um, sometimes I might have a grumpy look on my face, but I'm not a grumpy person. And if I am grumpy, like I'm still gonna engage in conversation with you. I'm not gonna be like, whatever, leave me alone. I'm in a bad mood.
Which I could
So
never
yeah,
understand that is that how if you're having a bad day, you take it out on others. I could never
yeah,
understand that.
yep,
I I used to work. I remember when I used to work at Nordstrom, and I used to work next to this girl, and like her and I were like best like cube mates, really good friends and stuff. But
yeah,
everyone else had to walk on eggshells around her. But for me, it was just more like Megan, shut up. She's like, oh,
yeah,
sorry, Devin.
exactly.
But then someone would be like, hi, Megan. Hey, we're gonna go downstairs. She's like, does it look like I'm hungry? So
Like I'm done with that. Thank you.
I was like,
Oh,
Megan, do
okay.
you want to go downstairs? She's like, all right, let's go. Like,
That's so funny.
okay.
That's awesome.
But no, that's yeah. I think that's one thing that society needs to stop doing is by judging based off of the way someone looks
Mm-hmm.
or because one, you don't know that person's background, you don't know what they're going through, or just generally get to know the person's character. You can't just label someone just because of the way they look
Yep.
and that is actually something that I keep trying to teach Kai and Noah growing up because I'm like, no matter what their background are, or what they believe or whatnot, they're still a human being. They're a person, judge them
Yeah.
off of their character. And then
Oh.
at the
Oh, there we
time,
go.
also, if you can, share the gospel with them. But if they don't want to hear it, you don't treat them like crap.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a quote by I think it's Robin Williams. I want to say it was Robin Williams. Um, he said that everybody you see is fighting some kind of a battle, so always be friendly to them. And that just kind of resonates with me. Like I always try to be polite to people. I always try to be courteous because I've been I might not know that person's story, but I've been in some really dark places and that one person that just kind of looks at me, you're in that dark place and you're just like that. And then all of a sudden you look up and you see the guy like
Yeah.
it just see look boom it totally made you smile like it just makes you it you just never know like that person could be like dude I'm gonna go kill myself and looks up and sees you smiling at him and they go you know what not today
Right.
like that could be that one last little like nudge they need of hope that not everybody in this world's bad
Right.
and
Exactly.
I definitely try not to judge people. I won't say I'm 100% always non-judgmental because sometimes you just kind of look at somebody and go, I don't want to know that person. Like, um, right? It's so messed up that I said it that way, but it's like, yeah, I don't want to be associated with that, like at all.
Right.
Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean, uh, like you were saying, like with your coworker, he has a different outlook, even though he used to be a Christian and then he stepped away. Like I had a coworker, and his name was Matt, and he was gay, and obviously biblical teaching and what my thoughts are on it, like I definitely don't agree with the lifestyle, but again, he is a person. He and I always chatted. We always came to common ground about like some of the things, like we enjoyed games, we enjoyed talking about movies, things like
Yep.
that, and we always had that conversation. He knew that I was a Christian, and so he first had the label on me, where he
Yep.
thought I was going to look at him and be like, don't talk to me, you know, sprout, throw some holy water on you or anything like that.
Yeah.
But no, like he and I, we worked together for what, almost 2 years, and I honestly could say that like he was probably my favorite person at that job, because every time I come to work, he was always like making me laugh, and then
Yeah.
I make him laugh. So it was a good way to show that, hey, I don't necessarily agree with your lifestyle, but I respect you as a person, and I hope you do the same with me, because I know you don't agree with who I believe and who I follow, but yet we can still be friends. We can still talk, and then
Yep.
I pray to God, please provide me the opportunity so I can share the gospel with him, and then hopefully in his life he comes to terms where he's like, you know what, I'm going to follow God. So I don't try to do it to have an agenda. It's more just I generally want to get to know that person, and then
Yep.
God will present the opportunity.
100%. I totally get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So judging people, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But it looks like we only have 2 minutes left. But is there anything else you want to share?
No, not really. I think it's going to be I'm really looking forward. I was really looking forward to like tonight's meeting. And I definitely would love to have more in the future.
Oh,
This-
that's a certainty.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I actually was talking again, we'll mention his name, Austin. I was telling him because he was like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And I was like, "Actually, I have a podcast episode with Kevin in our men's group." And he was like, "Oh, awesome." He's like, "You'll have to let me know when it's up and ready and like where I can watch it." And I was like, "Most definitely, dude." I'm like, "So when you load the video, make sure you put it in our men's group thing
Oh,
too,
absolutely.
so that way the guys in there can at least watch it and listen to it and stuff." And I would not be surprised if after a while Austin says, "Hey, can I join do a podcast with you?" Because dude, that's my goal. Is like I would love to have Adrian do one, Mario do one, Austin do one,
If we
and
can
then
all
try to
do
get
like a
all of us.
panel.
Yeah, if we could get like all of us in a group at the same time, because I know we tried doing that in the last group, and I was kind of the only one that was like, "I want to do it. Like, I'll do it. Like, let me do it." So this group is, I hope, going to be more chatty, more vigilant on all of that. So it'll be a good blessing and a good turnaround. So
Agreed. Well, you guys only have about 30 seconds, but I definitely enjoyed this, and I definitely want to do a lot more, like you said, have a
yes,
panel. But everyone, again, check out Gnome Tree Distillery on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to post a link. Support my boy Russell, and we will see you next time in this podcast. And hold on. All right, and I will catch you later. All right, man.
All right, man. Love you, bro, and we'll talk soon.
Love you too. They want to say goodbye too.
Bye, guys.
No. Oh.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I can't. I only have 10.